Lego Ninjago is a show you probably thought ended multiple years ago at this point, and are probably surprised to this day Ninjago is getting new content, in fact more than ever. But this isn't really a video properly discussing Ninjago. Oh, trust me, I'll do that one day. But no, today I wanted to do a look back on the decline of Ninjago on Cartoon Network, the channel that during the early 2010s made it so popular, but by the time it was finished on Cartoon Network, you'd barely even know it was still airing on there if you were watching. But let's go all the way back to January 14th of 2011, where the pilot episodes of Ninjago aired for the first time on Cartoon Network. Honestly, this was probably the best time for Ninjago to start airing. Cartoon Network had only just entered its new renaissance of cartoons with shows like Adventure Time, Regular Show, Gumball, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Looney Tunes Show, Young Justice, so many good cartoons airing in the early 2010s. Also, Cartoon Network's schedule was at its best in the early 2010s. In spite of some people saying Johnny Test overplayed all the time like Teen Titans Go, even though that's a blatant lie, that might be a future video. But yeah, the schedule was perfect at the time. You could have a show as old as Dexter's Lab air right next to a brand new show like The Amazing World of Gumball, and it wouldn't be weird for the channel. And with the two pilot episodes, which Cartoon Network just aired all at once as a 44-minute special, it aired pretty well. Got good views, got nice retention, Cartoon Network promoted it pretty well. Not like religiously, but it was more of a special than it was like a show, so I could understand them not putting all the work into it. But still, it made a pretty big splash, it got successful, and Lego decided, why not make more? Let's make a full TV show. So, by the end of 2011, we had the first two episodes of Ninjago air, and again, Cartoon Network promoted it really well. If anything, I think the promos increased by the time Season 1 began. For the first two seasons, the show had a pretty tight weekly schedule, airing mostly on Wednesdays. I think sometimes they would alter it if something else was going to air, but for the most part, they were really consistent about Ninjago's release. Cartoon Network was definitely promoting the show more than enough. The show would get regular reruns on the weekends, mostly at like 9 to 10-ish. They were really fun to see. And in general, Ninjago fit perfectly on Cartoon Network for those first two seasons. It was so much fun being a viewer at this time. The hype for who the Green Ninja would be, and the final battle was just, I missed that time period so much. And also airing on 2012, the best year of Cartoon Network. They were celebrating their 20th anniversary. Ninjago was even mentioned in their, happy birthday video here. But as a Ninjago fan, you probably know how the story goes. Lego decided to wrap Ninjago up at the end of Season 2. And where it wouldn't have been the worst way to end, it definitely wasn't a perfect ending. Thankfully, Lego decided, hey wait, this is making us a lot of money. Let's just keep it going. So in 2014, a year and a half after Ninjago ended, we got Season 3. So you'd think Cartoon Network would keep up the quality boost in terms of their promotion and marketing of Ninjago and their airings, right? Season 3 was handled weird. For those first two episodes, they actually didn't do that bad of a job promoting it. Heck, they made this little recap video just before the season started airing, which I always appreciated, recapping what the story was like so far up to this point. But then the problems started to seep in. What was a fairly consistent schedule of mostly weekly content with the occasional breaks in between seasons now became 2 episodes would air 1 month, wait 2 months, another 2 would air in the next month, wait 2 months, and I think you get it from there. Season 3 only had 8 episodes, yet it took Cartoon Network nearly a full year to air the entire season. Yeah, unfortunately, this was not the best time to be a viewer. I'll still give Cartoon Network credit, though. Reruns were not completely gone yet. I definitely wouldn't say that they were rerunning it as regularly. They were definitely starting to favor more of their own specific programming, but they would do reruns. Heck, I remember in 2014 they did do a Ninjago marathon, I think, to promote the last 2 episodes. So they still were airing Ninjago, at least. They were still promoting it. They still made it a big deal. 2014 had its good, but it also had its bad with Ninjago. Thankfully, 2015 went better for Ninjago. The first half of Season 4 aired on a pretty weekly basis, going back to basics. But then the second half of the season, they did a 5-day event where each day would have a new episode for the last 5 episodes of the second half of Season 4. I guess it's not the worst. I'll still say Cartoon Network was at least promoting the show at this point. But still, I would have rather them just air it weekly for the whole time. Because now it leads to the droughts being a lot bigger. And with less reruns this year as well, it just feels more empty. And the same can be said for Possession, which was Season 5, airing later that year. And instead of a 5-day event, now it's a 10-day event. Once every day, all 10 episodes were just aired back to back. There was still a little promotion, still a little attention, and very occasionally a rerun. But, I don't know if I really liked this strategy either. But unfortunately, this was probably the last good time Cartoon Network ever aired Ninjago. Well, at least the 22-minute episodes, but we'll get back to that. Season 6 would kind of start the trend of Cartoon Network airing the show late. Well, they did air the first episode in March, which is close enough to when the sets released. See, the rest of the season aired through June and July, which is by the time Day of the Departed sets were coming out. Yep. And this is going to become a common issue from here on out. Day of the Departed also aired a little after the sets, though to be fair, in this case, that was a Halloween special, and every country was obligated to air it on the 29th, except for Teletoon, who aired it 8 days earlier, but that's a story for another day. So, Cartoon Network at least handled Day of the Departed well, and even promoted it a fair amount. The promotion wasn't too bad this year, but it's getting worse each year, so... For Season 7, Cartoon Network went back to the 10-day event, though this time they would just do 5 episodes one week, 5 episodes the next week, which I'll admit is a little better than just airing 10 episodes back-to-back every day, but still, not to mention Season 7 was aired in May, again getting alarmingly close to the Ninjago movies set wave. Come on... Season 8 brought us back to basics, with the first half being weekly and the second half being daily. I just love it when Cartoon Network clearly gives up on a season. We don't want to promote this all week, let's just air them back to back. It's kind of obvious by this 2017-2018 point that they really just don't want Ninjago anymore. This, though, has come to a boiling point with Season 9, where they made their weirdest decision yet, is for the 10 episodes, the first 4 and the next 2 batches of 3 were all edited to make a 3-part movie, just so that Cartoon Network wouldn't have to air it for longer than 3 days. This is just ridiculous at this point. Cartoon Network really just wanted the show to air as fast as possible so they wouldn't want to market it or give it any attention, so they'll make a ridiculous stunt like this. Especially with Season 9, this kind of sucks. There's so many cool parts where it's that's an epic cliffhanger. I'm so excited to see where the show will go off. But no, almost all the cliffhangers will be immediately resolved because you're watching multiple episodes back to back to very poorly edited together. It's just man, I feel like this just negatively hampers the watching experience, having all these episodes air back to back like this. Well, they would do it again with Season 10, though this time around I actually think this works a little better, considering Season 10 is only 4 episodes long because dumb stuff, and, well, I think these episodes just flow a bit better, even if the ending feels rushed. Heck, I might actually like the movie edit a bit more than I like them as individual episodes, but still, it just reeks of that, let's get rid of the show. Well, now we move into the 11-minute era, the last era of Ninjago to air on Cartoon Network. Season 11 kicking us off, and to give Cartoon Network credit, they actually aired Ninjago on time and at a decent time slot, airing it on Saturday afternoons and giving it an okay amount of promotion and airing it on time with when the sets were expected to release in the summer. airing it in June, the first half of the season having weekly releases, and wow, they did a good job. I'm impressed. If they keep this up, Ninjago can go back to So I guess because it was called the Ice Chapter, Cartoon Network decided to hold off these 15 episodes until December. But why? That's so dumb. That's 15 episodes you're just sitting on for no reason. And lo and behold, it took them a while to air this episode batch. To be fair, it's not the worst schedule they've ever had, but the fact it finished on February of 2020, like, bro, every other country aired it way earlier than this at this point. Like, you shouldn't have held on to those episodes. And airing in February was such a negative thing because that's when the rest of the world got the next season, Prime Empire. So, season 12 was supposed to air when the Ice Chapter was, and at this point, Ninjago fans were just getting riled up. You'd see so many tweets from fans being like, #air Ninjago for Cartoon Network, and they finally listened in late July. Again. Master of the Mountain sets and the show itself was starting up, yet Prime Empire was the season that Cartoon Network was advertising as the big new thing. They only made like 1 or 2 promos for it anyways, but my goodness, why are you holding on to these episodes? It's just getting ridiculous at this point. Thankfully, with season 13, Master of the Mountain, we finally didn't have to wait too long, as it aired in September, which that's still late, but considering that Prime Empire aired from July to August, that's actually pretty close. If I had to guess, it's the paperwork Tommy Andreasen stated, as LEGO considers these 2 different seasons one big one for some reason. Though Master of the Mountain did not air that great, the season did not get promoted at all, and the series was demoted to like a 6:30 a.m. time slot. Like, come on. Every other season got to air at a decent time slot. Even Prime Empire aired at like, I think 12, but nope. Aired at 6 a.m. I think this was just Cartoon Network's final straw. They were so uninterested in keeping Ninjago around that they just were like, fine, you still gotta air it. We're airing it at the worst time slot possible. And I think it just marked an endpoint because after Master of the Mountain, Cartoon Network stopped airing Ninjago. Maybe an occasional rerun of the movie here and there, but in terms of the TV show, it left Cartoon Network completely without any notice. With The Island and Seabound coming out in 2021, it's unclear where it was going to go for a while, as it wouldn't be until November LEGO finally distributed it. Come on. Though, to give them this, and I can't confirm this, I think Cartoon Network might have still had the rights to air Ninjago during this time. My only, the reasoning I'm thinking this is because back in 2020, when Master of the Mountain was added to Netflix, that was also in November, like the day after Cartoon Network finished airing this season. So my idea is that LEGO was waiting for Cartoon Network to finish airing it, but when it was clear that Cartoon Network wasn't gonna air this season, they were just like, you know what? Fine. And considering that Crystallize was the first season they directly promoted, advertised, and made on their YouTube channel and Netflix, yeah, I think Cartoon Network might have still had the rights to air this season. I don't know for sure, but I'm in favor of thinking they could have. But we're now far removed from Cartoon Network airing Ninjago here in North America. There are other regions of Cartoon Network that air Ninjago to varying degrees of promoting it. Some I've heard do it pretty well, and others are abysmal with it. Some even air it on Boomerang. Like, come on, no one watches that channel anymore. But it was probably for the better that Ninjago left Cartoon Network at that point. I think Netflix has probably helped get some viewership of younger audiences to watch Ninjago, let alone having a good amount of Ninjago. Not all of it, unfortunately. But still, I'll always miss watching it on Cartoon Network. When they pulled off airing Ninjago, they really pulled it off. They made it like a hype-worthy moment every time it could air. It felt so magical having it in that time period. It aired at the right place at the right time. And, well, I've just been a sucker for early 2010s nostalgia at this point. So, even if they air it in the worst possible way somehow, I would love to see Ninjago air on Cartoon Network even just once ever again. But, yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and if you want to see more Ninjago, I'm more than happy to talk about it. Trust me, I got some Ninjago videos I want to do. Thank you all for watching, and take care.